we are not limited to man-made reservoirs as a solution. In Lake Erie and the Ohio River, we have more water than we can use, and pipelines can be run inland from these great sources. No spot in Ohio is more than 124 miles from a virtually endless source of fresh water which can be obtained by pipeline. This is not far. In fact, only a fraction of the distance pipelines bring natural gas from Texas. Therefore, against water shortages, we have such solutions as pipelines and reservoirs. Against floods, there are other solutions. Flood walls and levees can be built. Channels can be widened and straightened. Obstructions like this bridge can be removed. For today, engineers know that a bridge should be built like this, with adequate space for water to pass under. Most important of all, floodplains would be zoned. That is, they would be used not for homes or factories, but for parks and similar low-risk developments, or for flood-proof buildings such as this Cincinnati electric utility plant, which could supply maximum power even if floodwaters rise to record levels. There are still other solutions to our water problems. Research, for example. Research on better methods of refining water for reuse. Today, it is considered technically possible for a city to equip itself with a given quantity of water and use it over and over again, adding only small amounts of makeup water occasionally from stream flow. Exploration is a solution. Exploration for buried valleys. We believe Ohio's underground water treasure may be many times that which we see on the surface, and through the use of such tools as seismic wave recording devices, we could measure them. Surveys are a solution. Every step in water management, from mapping a creek to building a dam, is founded upon a mountain of detailed information. Information built up over decades by thousands of trained men, measuring streams, mapping water resources, computing flow and storage. Thus, for each of our water problems, we have solutions, but they are essentially engineering solutions. As such, they are only part of the answer. The other part is the difficult one, for it involves not stone or steel, but the people of Ohio and their interests. Water, you see, is a moving resource. It belongs to everyone and to no one. Hence, if all of us are to receive our rightful share, it must be wisely used. And this implies some form of management. At the present time, water is managed on a traditional basis, that is, by cities, by counties, by special purpose subdivisions and agencies, each being largely responsible for solving its own water problems. As a result, artificial boundary lines are stretched over a moving natural resource. And as the boundary lines of cities push outward, as population and communities grow, become more complex, water interests begin to conflict. One interest may want a given area of land for a water supply reservoir. Another may want the same site for a flood control dam. A third may see it as the ideal place for a recreation lake. But someone else may have it already picked as an industrial site or for a highway. A community upstream may pour raw sewage into the same stream that serves as water supply for another community below. And if one community improves its river channel to facilitate flow and prevent flooding, it may deluge another community downstream. With conflicts such as this between people and communities, management of our water resources on the present political boundary basis is inadequate. It not only cannot solve such problems, it actually complicates them. What is lacking? Well, let's look at a very basic principle of hydrology. Let's approach it first in terms of a house roof. When it rains, the water strikes the roof, runs down one side or the other, flows into an eave trough, down a vertical pipe and into a drain or out a spout. The peak of your roof is the dividing line between two small watersheds. In each, the water flows in a connected pattern to the ground. Now, transfer the pattern of the roof to an area of land. Rain falls, water strikes the land. Little rivulets begin to drain away. The rivulets find their way to brooks. The brooks to creeks and streams. The streams to rivers. This is a watershed, nature's own basic unit of water flow and supply. A land area unified and tied together by its own distinct water pattern, a land area whose population is bound together by the same pattern of water resources. A watershed area, therefore, is the natural and logical unit of water management. Ohio first gave recognition to this principle in 1914 in the famous Conservancy District Act. Under this law, a number of conservancy districts have been organized, most notable of which are three. The Miami, which has built 5 huge flood control dams. The Muskingum, organized for flood control, also famous for recreation. And the Maumee, created to cope with flatland problems of drainage, floods, and water supply. Another watershed approach, through the aid of the U.S. Soil Conservation Service, is the federal Small Watershed Law, which combines better soil practices with flood control. The U.S. Corps of Engineers also makes its plans on a watershed basis. This agency, the country's leading builder of dams and other water control projects, has built many of Ohio's dams and reservoirs. These organizations have done much in bringing people and communities together for action. But our measure must be, how much more should the people of Ohio have done? Unfulfilled plans witness that we are forgetful of calamities of the past. The next major flood could find 116 Ohio communities unprepared to prevent damage in excess of $500 million. Lack of water could cost much more. Action can begin now. Unwise floodplain development can be stopped. Reservoir sites can be purchased and reserved for future needs. Existing laws can be better utilized. New, far-seeing law must be designed, and ways provided of raising the funds which put life into plans and law. You can take a personal inventory, whether you are a voter, councilman, or legislator. Ask yourself, where do we get our water? Do we have enough? What about 20 years from now? Is there land we should be acquiring now for a reservoir site? Are we ready for floods? Are we willing to pay the cost of improvements? Is there a place we can enjoy swimming, fishing, boating? These are some of the questions we must answer. And having answered, we must then decide what to do. For water to us is more than patterns of beauty and delight, patterns of endless number and variety. It is also life, our life, a thing we must care for and manage wisely, so that tomorrow we can hand down to our children a heritage of water and land richer than even we receive.